Hey guys, this is a bookkeeper question and answer session, so I just gathered together some of your questions that I thought would be interesting to a wide variety of people, or questions that I'm getting a lot, and I'm going to answer them all in this video. My name is Morgan from FinePoints.biz. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. That helps me out so much. So I started doing some Q&A Tuesdays at the end of my Tuesday videos, but I thought I'd just do a dedicated video now just to get a bunch of them answered at once. So I have my computer sitting here and I'll probably just try to talk. It'll be maybe a little bit more casual format than usual. All right, so here we go in no particular order. So this is a question from Bruce. He was watching my video on quarterly taxes, so how to pay quarterly taxes. And he asked, what if one quarter I'm making money and the next quarter I make way more or lose money? So his income is variable. Do I have to pay quarters if I lose money? It's hard to estimate and divide into 4 when the profits are changing quickly all the time. So I totally agree. It is very hard to predict. So basically, I always do this as a percentage of any income I make. So if I make $0 one quarter, then I pay $0 in taxes. So that's easy. An easy way is just to figure it out. And then I know I'm always going to be covered. And what typically happens is once your business is going for at least a few years and you kind of have a history, an accountant will tell you how much to pay each quarter, kind of based on your previous years. So that is what I do. Like, that's what we do with our personal taxes based on my husband's business. And yes, the income is going to vary like quarter to quarter, but overall, your accountant kind of will give you a estimate of what it's going to look like. But if you're just starting out, just do a straight percentage and you should be fine. And in general, everything's going to like end up correct at the end of the year. And as long as you're within the threshold that they want you to be, you won't have penalties or anything. And you can look at that video in more detail if you want to know exactly what those thresholds are. So basically, I'd say don't stress about it too much, but do it as a percentage or do whatever your accountant tells you. All right, and the next question is from Cassandra. She said she's been a bookkeeper since October, so that would be not quite a year, but almost going on a year. And she said she has one client, but she's having trouble finding more clients and wondering if I'm in a position to be a mentor. So finding clients is definitely a challenge for many people. I'd recommend going to my video all about marketing ideas. It's called Get Your First Client This Week. I'll leave it linked down below. But in that video, I lay out like probably, I don't even remember, like 25 to 30, maybe more ideas of different people and places you can look for clients and different strategies that I find that work well. And then a lot of people do ask if I'm able to be a mentor or if I do private consulting. And at this point, I'm not doing any of that. Let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd be interested in. I don't know, so far it hasn't been my preference on how to communicate with people. I think just being live seems more like nerve-wracking to me, but it is something I've considered and I've been asked if I'll do, but at this point I'm not doing it yet. All right, and then Hillary says, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and I'm still feeling nervous about this. Can I only offer bookkeeping services and not filing tax returns? Yes, you definitely can. So I get this from a lot of accountants or people with finance degrees or like a lot of schooling, and they still feel nervous to start their bookkeeping business. So I would just encourage you to just get started. Just start with one thing. And like you said, you don't have to offer like a wide variety of services. Sometimes it's even better to like be really specialized, because then you can charge a higher amount because you know so much about that one thing. So you totally do not have to offer tax services. Because you're a CPA, you have a bachelor's in accounting. So I'm not sure if you're certified to prepare taxes, but preparing taxes is a very specific certification or a set of guidelines you need to study. So me personally, I'm not qualified to prepare taxes. I don't have that, I don't have the qualifications to do that. So you can definitely be a bookkeeper without preparing taxes. And that is one of the great things about owning your own business, is that you can choose what you want to do. If you don't feel comfortable, if you don't like doing something, you don't have to do it. So I'd say go for it. All right, and then James is asking about how companies create a separate login for me to access their bank account because of concerns about data being accessed by others. So yes, usually I have a client call up their bank. Sometimes they can do it online. Call up their bank and create me a separate login for just the bookkeeper, and I can use that to access their finances. And one thing to be careful about with that you may need to kind of work through is sometimes it's like read-only access. So sometimes your Bookkeeper Access does not have the ability to hook up to QuickBooks because you don't have that permission. So in those cases, then the client would need to log into QuickBooks. You could even be sitting next to them when they do it, and they need to put in their credentials and then have it connect to bank feeds. And the same with the monthly statements. So as a bookkeeper, you're going to need to get the statements offline to reconcile the bank accounts to make sure that the money equals out at the end of the month. So some banks do not allow that bookkeeper login to access those documents. So if they have the choice, have them give you that access. And if they don't have the choice, the client is going to have to log into their bank each month, download the document, and then save it somewhere for you or somehow get it to you. All right, and then Kate is getting started and she asks, do I have any recommendations for a laptop? She's looking into getting a refurbished one, and would it be okay to use Wi-Fi from a coffee shop until she can get internet at home? So I want to do a video on the technology that it takes to get started bookkeeping. I'm not the person who researches tons of computers and knows a lot about gigabytes and all the computer stuff. Of course I can do that, and I can compare side by side different computers if I need to, but I don't have a really strong recommendation about a computer. Leave a comment down below if you are more of a computer person and you have a recommendation. That being said, you can pretty much do bookkeeping, at least starting out, on any type of computer. I personally have a Dell laptop and that is working fine for now. As you grow, you may want to invest in, one with more capabilities. You might want 2 screens and that type of thing. But especially for me, I want to be mobile. I want to be able to work from different places and do different things. So my laptop is working out fine. Someone asked me if they could do it off a Surface Pro. It's like a tablet that has a keyboard. I mean, yeah, you could totally do it from a Surface Pro if you're okay sitting for hours on end, typing and looking at a smaller screen. Whatever you're comfortable with, I think it's okay to get started because you're basically just logging into a website. So you're logging into QuickBooks Online. And then she asked about using Wi-Fi at a coffee shop or something. I totally understand if you're just getting started, you may not have the budget to get like super high speed internet in your house. I'd be really careful about using open public Wi-Fi networks, especially with bookkeeping because you are dealing with people's finances. So I personally never use coffee shop Wi-Fi with my computer, with my bookkeeping business. If you are going to do that, I want you to look into like a VPN or some kind of secure connection, some way to secure that Wi-Fi so other people aren't able to hack in. Again, that's not really my area of expertise, so I don't know a ton about the dangers or the problems with using public Wi-Fi, but I have been warned enough times not to do it that's not something I'm comfortable with at this point. All right, and the next question is from Mohammed. He says, if you're holding the books for a client and you decide to fire them, or if you go your separate ways, what's the process to close things up? Do you send them the books, and how do you do it? Okay, so from my personal experience, I've done this with QuickBooks Desktop, where you can just download the file onto like a thumb drive or some kind of way to get it to them. You can just go into, I think it's the settings, and then it'll say download this company file, save it somewhere, and then give them the file. In QuickBooks Online, you can just make them a login if they don't already have it. And then if there's like a security issue or if it's an uncomfortable ending to your relationship, maybe they would want to, I don't know, block you as the bookkeeper or take you off of their account so that they're not using you anymore. So it's pretty easy in QuickBooks Online. And I know some bookkeepers kind of have different opinions on this. I think technically the bookkeeper or the accountant owns the file and the client owns the reports and all the information that comes out of there. So from what I've seen, you don't actually have to give up the QuickBooks file. But for me personally, I haven't had any bad relationships or bad endings with clients. So I'm always happy to just give them the file because that is going to help them start where I left off with a new bookkeeper. And as long as they have paid me for my work and paid me for the hours I, have put into their business, I'm perfectly happy just giving them the file and then both of us moving on. All right, and then Naz, the gig accountant, asked, what industries do I have experience servicing? So what kind of clients have I had? So I made a list of them for him because I had to think back on all the different clients I've had. But I've had lawyers, speech pathologists, florists, an Etsy seller, nonprofits, a preschool, property management, and a photographer. So I think that's it. All of those businesses, maybe with a couple exceptions, are kind of in the same group. Like they're not retail stores. That's like kind of like a whole nother niche of bookkeeping if you have to keep track of inventory and that kind of thing. Most of the clients I've had are service providers. And if you're starting out, that is what I would recommend because I feel like those are the most simple. A couple of my clients have had things that are a little bit more complex, but overall, you don't have to deal with sales tax, or I know construction is also kind of like a specialized thing. The speech pathologist, I had to deal with like medical billing a little bit, but that was, actually not that hard of a learning curve. All right, and then Robert asked, what is the difference between the QuickBooks Online Accountant and my offering of 50% off QuickBooks for 6 months? So he's referring to, in a few videos, I mentioned that I have a code that can get you 50% off QuickBooks. And I actually stopped mentioning that as much when I started speaking more to bookkeepers on my channel, because that deal is better for business owners. So if you are watching my channel and you have your own business that is not a bookkeeping business and you just want to do books for your business, then definitely take advantage of that deal. I'll leave it linked down below. But if you're a bookkeeper and you want to have multiple clients, then you want to get a subscription to QuickBooks Online Accountant, because then you'll be able to manage your different clients within there. And then with QuickBooks Online Accountant, then you can also get deals for your clients. So as a bookkeeper, I'm getting my clients deals. Again, if you're a business owner watching this and you don't want to go through a bookkeeper, you don't want to pay them to do your books, then go ahead and get that 50% off just for your business. All right, so Thomas wants to know, how many clients do I typically maintain? So this has changed a lot over the years. I've been a bookkeeper for, I think, 7 years. And I've had 2 kids in the process, so I have grown and shrunk my business depending on what was happening in my life. But currently I have 4 clients, and that takes me, I say I work 10 hours a week. I'm not sure if that's totally accurate because I have some YouTube stuff thrown in there also. But usually like 4 to 10 has been about like my sweet spot, and I have always been working part-time. And one of my clients that I used to have, I would go into their office every Wednesday, so once a week, and I'd work like an 8-hour day, maybe like a 6-hour day. And that was probably the biggest client I've ever had. So that kind of gives you an idea of how much people need bookkeepers. You usually don't need to be a bookkeeper for 40 hours a week, unless it's like a huge company or unless you're doing other tasks besides bookkeeping. So for me personally, the answer has been 4 to 10, and that's working always part-time. All right, and then Tiffany asks, as a virtual assistant, is it possible to have bookkeeping as one of my services? And I'd say, yeah, that's definitely possible. I think virtual assistants and bookkeepers kind of go hand in hand, just because you already have the setup to work remotely. You kind of have the mentality of helping clients and having multiple clients. I don't know that much about virtual assistants, but I believe I've seen in bookkeeper forums, in someone that has in a similar situation as you may want to charge a different rate for bookkeeping versus being a virtual assistant, because I think that the going rate, the market rate for bookkeepers is a bit higher than an entry-level virtual assistant. And that may depend on your niche and that type of thing. But I have seen people charge, this much, charge $25 an hour to be an assistant, and then $50 an hour to be a bookkeeper. And you can definitely, I think that's a great idea actually, because in that case, you might already know the client's business, you might have a rapport with them. And I think it's a good way to build on your virtual bookkeeping business and pick up more tasks for that client that are at a higher level. That being said, if you are a bookkeeper, I may not recommend adding to it the virtual assistant unless you need more business, because you'll earn a higher income if you just get another bookkeeping client versus doing a wider range of things that you can't charge as much for. All right, so that is all my questions for today. Give me a thumbs up if you like this kind of video, and definitely leave more questions in the comments down below, and I will answer them in the comments, and then I can also put them at the end of my Tuesday videos, or possibly in another compilation video like this in another month or 2. Thank you so much for watching and supporting my channel. Talk to you soon.